Pre-op, intra-op and post-op situations where what you do. Let's see pre-op bloods. Like a lot of people are very confused about doing investigations. So these are the standard investigation which one does. Anyone differs in that and anything different apart from this?
Still I will do a culture, and if it is positive, I will give a course of antibiotics, repeat it, and if it doesn't come down, I will still not bother. I will do it.
There are patients where I have seen a culture in a 2 to 3 plus cells with positive for Klebsiella. Now, how do you trust this urine culture in many patients? Anyone has an answer for that?
See, if you go with the latest literature and all, they are not mentioning urine. They're not, a lot of the hospitals, a lot of the centers are not even doing a standard urine in an elderly.
These are asymptomatic.
Don't treat them.
And chances of the urine infection going through the joint is like less than 1 in 100 or something.
Yeah.
So you need not really.
We use cocktails and
Just raise the hand who's doing the dental checkups for a year. Yeah, dental checkups, you don't need to
just a normal history and
History.
not a regular.
regular checkup, no dental certificate required. Okay, I think, but that's a real ECG and 2D echo is must in this day and age. I think there's no stress echo. Anyone does stress echo for a patient who can't be mobile because a lot of patients are immobile. They don't have a tolerance effort.
Negative is an angio. Otherwise, there is a stress echo has no role. But personal differences, so unit 1, unit 2.
I think I do it certain number of patients, basically because I work in a setup where 70% of cases are done when there is no ICU backup. So I need to screen my patients properly. So in such a case, the stress echo is very useful because at what heart rate they develop changes in the ECG is very important. Some of them develop at the heart rate of 110. So post-operative pain, the pulse will go to that level and they'll have problems.
There for orthopedic point of view at least. Okay.
I think one point here I wanted to make, pre-operatively, you should at least have a full-length femur X-ray, if not a scanogram.
Okay.
Because when we do a case where scanogram is not available, you need to have an angle between.
Now, before anyone gives a bathing solution for patients 3 days prior to surgery, yeah, I do it every day. I do every time, so it can be given. Clothes in bath wash can be given, so they can have a clean environment more or less, and that can avoid MRSA to great extent. I think that's the point taken. MRSA swabs. How many people do swabs? No, unless been asked for a nursing home patient lying in bed for ages, you can do MRSA swabs, screening and everything. But intra skin preparation. Now, how many people use betadine as a solution at the moment? Can you just raise your hands? Okay, are you aware that this is an outdated solution more or less? I know, but I have stopped using for 3-5 years now. So
I think Javed Parwazi's paper, what got quoted, he's again gone back to betadine.
Yeah.
Even intra-operative wash.
Yeah, that confusion now. Yeah. So
before his paper, I think it was thought to be, you read in the bottom of it is showing topical application, not in the body. But Parwazi in his paper quotes that it is a very important thing to wash the wound with betadine.
do you get betadine differently there?
0.5%.
So, see, the thing is, what they said, betadine surgical scrubs is 5%. So that is where you look at 10% is gone out, they're using 5%, and we're using chlorhexidine as well.
So how do you pay this serve patients?
Betadine 10%.
Yeah.
3 times. Rise up, then you apply the intravenous fluid and
Okay, you please.
Again, it's the same. Betadine solution after the scrub, and betadine solution followed by chlorhexidine.
Closing. Okay. Dr. Bilal, anything different?
I use the betadine.
Okay.
Betadine scrub up to toes and then wipe off and chlorhexidine.
Closing, yeah. So closing, yeah. Okay, that's fine. So tincture is good. Closing tincture is good enough. But of course, you can use betadine now. The world is always round. Concept.
Abroad, some of the bottles you get are sterile betadine. I have no idea how exactly it is done because the one they're giving you for wash is a sterile betadine. It's completely different from the one they use.
Exactly
for
what you're asking is same thing. Whether we get sterile like hydrogen peroxide.
Yes.
We are not sure about hydrogen peroxide, whether it's sterile or unsterile, and its impact in a very poorly managed disease.
We did a paper once on 3
Brush, what has been used? Ivan, anything different? No. Okay, that's great. So I think everyone agrees for query bathing solution, swab if required, betadine if required, tincture, Qtacept or Ivan has to be used for a preparation. No difference here. Okay, intra. Now, if you have a previous incision, what is the most medial or most lateral? Most lateral. So most lateral. Distance between two HQO and a TKR incision around 10 centimeters is a good. 8 to 10 centimeters.
5 centimeters.
5 steppers, I think everyone go for single stage. What about this implant, like what you can use to implant with the plates? Do you go for 2 stage or 1 stage? Yeah? What's the stage between, timing between the stage? 3 weeks. Anyone disagree? Okay.
Yeah, it's preferably the same stage and depends upon the implant size.
Yeah.
They have patient from top to down, like tibia you see there.
Yeah, most patients. Okay, skin closures. How many people use staples here, please? Staples. Anyone use Dermabond? I use Dermabond, is good. And I think Dermabond is a good thing which has a glue and everything for our outpatient, outdoor patient, outstation patients. Cost.
Good, but cost.
Yeah. It costs at least 7,000 to 8,000 rupees per knee. But if you are a patient for outstation, it doesn't have to come back for suture removal. That's the good part. So you can add to the cost of that. Now dressing. How many people put this type of dressing which is impervious? All of them? All of them? Which is the right or left?
No, the immediate post-op is an offside.
Yeah.
Change it to offside post-op.
Post-op. Okay. Anything in dressing? So how many people do dressing after on 3rd day, 4th day? Like 3rd day or 2nd day? Second day. Okay. Do you ever check the dressing after that?
We do.
Okay. I don't think we should open the dressing till there are any stains in the dressing as such. Remove it. Why most people are still with the drains when the literature is going against the drain more or less? Any reason? Time testing, okay. You feel good?
You come across once in a while a case. You come across once in a while a case where you have.
Yeah, my boss and his boss, Dr. Alvin, says the orthopedic wheel is round. You come back again after 2 years, the same thing. So you choose your own way, how to do it. Okay. I think it makes life easy, but I think my contraindication tourniquet is a neuropathy in a limb with the diabetic patients. They can get worse because of microcirculation being compromised.
Even in the real X-rays.
Atherosclerotic vessels, if you can see them on the X-rays.
If you see associated X-ray, don't put a tourniquet on.
Obesity is I don't use in very
I
patients.
turn off the tourniquet at just after cement is
As
set.
soon as the cement is done, we remove the tourniquet, catch hold of the bleeders,
Yeah.
and then you go
Then
ahead
we
to
do
the
it.
drain.
Anything else?
If there is no dorsal spreading and posterior table, I would go arterial doctor and use
Of course, there's no doubt about it. You should.
That's definitely.
There's a very interesting discussion I had once that when you're doing a cemented hip, you're not really worried about the femoral canals spreading. So why do you really need the tourniquet to be on at that time, or why do you need to wait until the cement is set? It's probably not.
No, I think the discussion in India is different because we
No,
don't have
I'll answer
anesthesia.
that.
We go up to 50 degrees. See, 50 millimeters is the pressure, average pressure 50 to 60, which our patients don't get on our anesthesia in our setups. Don't do that. You can't do that because it's a very high. You require arterial line, everything. I think it's a different monitoring system. So I think that's doesn't work. Okay, Alok, anything? I have analysis here. How many go for epidurals, please? Epidurals? Okay. Who? Epidurals? Most of them. And Octane is of course most of them will go. Okay.
We have facility, you have to use it. We stopped doing it.
But basic time?
We didn't find much of a daily benefit out of it, and then the early mobilization, we had problems with that.
All right. Okay. This is time
I want to say a word about that. Definitely adductor blocks, we are doing every patient.
Okay.
And we keep epidural just standby. If it won't work, if my anesthetist is not so confident to put his catheter, and we do the continuous infusion pump.
Okay.
So we make the patient walk after 2 hours. Main advantage is no motor weakness.
Yeah, motor
No motor
But see-
weakness, and patient has to do the straight leg raising up.
Yeah.
The minute the patient starts rising, we'll make them walk.
Okay. There are some pros and cons about cost, time, and the ultrasound machine and all the litigations we have for ultrasound machine. So I think you have to choose your own. Now, first day mobilization, I think everyone goes for first day mobilization. Ankle pumps, no debate in that. 3 doses of antibiotics. 3 doses of antibiotics, 3 doses of antibiotics. Cornerstone antibiotics is etc. Yeah. Okay, anyone for octocopene and vancomycin addition? Revision. How do you cover MRSA in the cephaloxime? How do you cover MRSA? Okay. Because the only way. Yeah. Okay. Any debate term, anything you want to ask about antibiotics, anyone has a choice. Suppose patient is allergic to ceftriaxone, next antibiotic comes clindamycin, vancomycin. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Hospitalized patient, institutionalized patient, they get
Vanco, okay. Is a Vanco better or teicoplanin better? Vanco has to have a KFT monitor. Teicoplanin is a single dose, no monitoring of any KFT. So I think that's a better antibiotic compared to vancomycin if it comes to that.
What about the dose of teicoplanin we gave at the start?
It's supposed to be 400 milligrams IV, half an hour before.
Loading dose of 800, standard, because standard loading dose, then continuous 400.
For each.
Easily.
This one patient.
I'm not asking post-op, I'm asking at the start of a knee, pre-op.
800 mg, 800 mg, 800 grams, followed by 400 mg IVO.
Okay, DVT prophylaxis, quickly.
One pre-op, checklist, no checklist.
Has to be, checklist has to be there.
For everyone checklist?
Yes.
100%, there's no doubt. Nowadays you will be sued in case you don't have checklist. Yeah. How many people mark the side? No, there's no hands. I think UK experience for long years is marked always everything because we have two limbs. And the sisters can screw you up if she has a bad day and you scolded her last night, something like that, you have to have a trouble. So mark your limbs. No, I know a doctor who has to flee the UAE because he was abusive to staff and they make sure that he got a wrong side done and has to flee to UK. I know that, that's why I say it's very important to mark your limb immediately. Now, duty prophylaxis. Enoxaparin subcute till discharge, everyone agrees for that?
Aspirin.
Only aspirin, nothing else?
Just inox.
Let's have a hand. Enoxaparin for till discharge, okay.
I think you give LMWH.
LMWH, yeah.
Till all the lines are out.
Okay.
Because once you start something like Xarelto, it's difficult to remove the line or put the line. So
Okay.
generally, till for 3 days it is enough.
Okay,
What
yeah.
will happen by the time catheter, every
So first 3 days, everyone gives more as LMWH.
Followed
Now,
by Xarelto.
Xarelto. Ecosprin or Xarelto now, because the guidelines have changed now. Ecosprin. Ecosprin.
I gave for last 25 years 2 doses of low molecular heparin. We are not sure about whether they will absorb ecosprin or whatever.
Okay.
And then ecosprin. 25 days.
Yeah, 75 is it? I think in Indian patient we see lot of discoloration with ecosprin.
I use one.
It's only recently, maybe in the last 1 or 2 years, the American College of Physicians ACCP guideline has got ecosprin included into their prophylaxis. It is 150 what they recommend.
It's a recommend 75 BD, so that if one dose doesn't get absorbed, you
I still use it.
Xarelto.
Actually, Bevel, it's not just last 2 years. David Bevel from the UK also. He's been constantly publishing about this, and he's again been very emphatic about the use of aspirin as prophylactic. Basically, he's brought out 2 points. It is not against the DVT, it's your peri-operative mortality, which
Okay.
means reduce the incidence of MI, reduce the incidence of pulmonary embolism. That's what, and that's what aspirin has managed to do. And he and many proponents among the, including Jav Perlesi, all the low molecular weight heparins, all of them are industry driven.
Yeah.
If you look at it, aspirin is the one that is categorically, and if you look at scientifically, brought down the rates that we need, not DVT. Because if you screen anybody, you'll have DVT. You're talking about incidence of MI, you're talking incidence of PE, and also the stroke.
Do you believe it's some more of protection for ourselves or
From
the
the market, because of Dabigatran and all that, they withdrawn from the market, Rivaroxaban.
Yeah.
Because the rest of time is only
patient
aspirin.
for 6 weeks? Yeah. Duration at 12 hours, duration has to be there. Okay, how do you believe? Anyone believes Gujarat formula, no filter will be done? See the patient. Because your own baby, you won't be easy to open up